You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Thursday, happy Jupiter day, and happy birthday to some very notable Virgos. Some are surprising too. Prince Harry is a Virgo. We love that he's a Virgo. And really interesting when we talk about the transit that's starting to play out today, because I feel like it kind of ties into what has been going on with the royal family with Queen Elizabeth's death. Tom Hardy is also a Virgo. Very interesting. I wouldn't take him for a Virgo at face value, but we'll claim him. Letizia of Spain, Agatha Christie, Tommy Lee Jones, some very surprising Virgos. Jenna Marbles. I didn't know she was a Virgo. Very famous YouTuber. Jimmy Carr, Heidi Montag, wow, Oliver Stone, Lisa Vanderpump, they just keep coming. William Taft, wow, wow, wow. If you're a Virgo, if you know someone celebrating a birthday today, let us know in the comments so we can celebrate them too. Hi, Rachel, happy Thursday. Hey, Diane, Grand Rising, Bree. Oh, one hell of a morning. So grateful you're here. Thank you for being here. So today we're talking about a transit that's going to be with us through the end of October, right? Jenna Marbles. We love Jenna Marbles. I want to know her rising sign too, though, because I guarantee it's not Virgo. Anyway, happy Thursday, Corby. Saturn is squaring Uranus, and this is a really powerful transit. I just realized also all of these labels are not correct. So we're going to update that really quick, but even if you're finding this video after the fact, it will be relevant because this transit is going to be with us for quite some time. It's sticking around through October 23rd, and it's an energy that we are not all that uncomfortable with, although it is an uncomfortable transit because we've been here before. Saturn squared Uranus 3 times in 2021, and it was the transit that really defined last year. So we're getting one final little glimpse at Saturn squaring Uranus, and this time both planets are retrograde. So it's more of a review than it is of a surprise this time, but let's talk about it. Let's get into it. First, we'll just get a check on the current energy. Yeah, it's back. It's back. So this video, like I said, will be up to return to if you need a little refresher, or you can always go to thespiritualjournalist.com and there's a full breakdown of this transit on today's forecast. September 15th through October 23rd is when these two planets are within a degree of that 90-degree angle, though. Okay, so back to today. We'll go through this main energy we're starting to feel over the next month, and then we'll go through what's going on with the moon. Yeah, a review is much better than what we experienced last year. And I'll give you the dates that Saturn exactly squared Uranus last year, so you can kind of get an idea of maybe what came up that you can review this time around. So this Thursday, this Jupiter day, the sun is in Virgo, the moon is in Gemini. So we're coming into, or the moon will move into Gemini, I should say. Yeah. So we're coming into the last quarter moon over the weekend, And we're still in that releasing phase, which is really interesting when we have Saturn squaring Uranus. It's very much that energy of things coming up that need to be released, right? Let's get into it though, the nitty gritty of it. So let me pull up the current chart so you can see with your own eyeballs what's going on with Saturn and Uranus. Here we go. Let's pull it up right now. Okay, so Saturn right now is at 19 degrees. Uranus is at 18 degrees. You see that dark red line between them. What's really interesting about this time around is that Saturn and Uranus never form an exact 90-degree angle this time. Last year, that happened 3 times. This time, since both planets are retrograde, they're kind of dancing in this 90-degree angle range for about a month. So it's, again, not as harsh as 2021. But whenever we're talking about transits, there's usually about a 5 to 8 degree orb, depending on which astrologers you ask. So we're definitely feeling the energy of these 2 planets clashing. What does that mean for us, though? Well, let's break it down. Saturn is restriction. It is boundaries, lessons, Big Daddy Saturn. It's that authority and rules. Uranus is liberation, rebellion, freedom. So there's really this energy of freedom versus restrictions, liberating Uranus clashing with strict Saturn. And this can bring up resistance to boundaries and rules. Now, what's really interesting is that big lessons can happen, big breakthroughs are possible, but there usually requires a good deal of effort or I don't want to say hardship because it doesn't have to be hard, but the universe might present you with some challenges before you can just easily pull that lesson. Now, if you're already in the mindset, okay, what am I learning here? It'll be easier, right? But there's definitely a clash between the old ways of doing things and the new ways of doing things. Saturn is much more traditional. It's all about the past, where Uranus is much more innovative, thinking to the future. Uranus rules technology, Saturn rules time. So you see how these 2 energies are very different. What's interesting is if you are a Capricorn rising, or specifically if you're an Aquarius rising, hold on, buckle up. I already warned my partner who's an Aquarius rising, because in traditional astrology, Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius. In modern astrology, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So both of your ruling planets as an Aquarius rising are clashing with one another. So my friends out there who have major Aquarius placements or are Aquarius risings, I feel you. We're here for you. Just know that you might be having a little bit more difficulty navigating this transit than everyone else. Yeah, your fiance is an Aquarius rising. And now you know, and you can let him know too. So this transit can be really transformational because it allows us to kind of break away from the old way of doing things and embrace the new way of doing things. But again, there could be this butting heads or this harsh energy that comes along with it. Chaos can shake things up, challenges can shake things up, but whatever's going on in our individual lives shows us what we need to change. Uranus is all about change, right? And this can be on a collective level too. There could be collective shakeups over the next month that show us how we're transforming, how we're innovating, how we are changing. Will Aquarius moons be affected? You know, potentially. It's hard for me to say because my partner is also an Aquarius moon. But yes, maybe emotionally you're feeling the energy of Saturn and Uranus because they're the rulers of the Aquarius moon. I would say it's more going to be people who are really dominated by that Saturn or Uranus energy. Like I said, even Capricorn risings, because you're so attuned to Saturn. And even Capricorn and Aquarius suns might feel this too, but we're all feeling it. We're all feeling Saturn squaring Uranus. That's the thing about these transits, is it's not really particular to different signs. We all feel this energy all at the same time. You just might be more sensitive to it if you have these placements. Katie says, my dad passed away last year. It was rough. I actually love that these planets are retrograde. Lots of reflection and lessons from that. This is a big process. Yeah, Aquarius sun, Cap rising here. So definitely something that you, with these major placements, have felt more strongly with such a big life moment happening for you last year. And I love that you use the word reflection, because the next month is really a time to reflect on all the changes, all the restrictions, all the boundaries, all the breakthroughs, all the rules that came up last year. Hugs to you, BB. So let's talk about last year. This, like I said, is the transit that defined 2021, 3 consecutive squares between Saturn and Uranus. And now they're both retrograde. We have this window of reflection over the next month and a half. Let's talk about what was going on last year, though. So think back to February 17th or mid-February 2021, June 14th, mid-June 2021, and Christmas Eve of 2021. My partner might not love that I'm sharing this, but Christmas Eve is his birthday, and woo, was he on one? Was he on one for his birthday? And so I warned him. I was like, the last time we experienced this was your birthday. And he was like, oh. So it is helpful to look back at what came up, what disruptions were happening, where were you rebelling or pushing against boundaries, and on a collective level, what rules, restrictions were being placed or lifted during these times last year. It really feels like Saturn and Uranus squaring had a lot to do with the pandemic, these kind of waves that we experienced last year at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. And what's really interesting about this, now that Saturn is squaring Uranus again, and it's retrograde this time, so there is that element of review, is just yesterday, the World Health Organization said the end of the pandemic is in sight. So not that it's over by any means. I mean, your girl here just tested positive for COVID last week, right? But that we are kind of reviewing, again, rules, restrictions that were put into place last year or kind of adjusted and finagled throughout the year last year, now that Saturn and Uranus are coming into this square again. So we might be revisiting these global rules and policies. And Uranus is the planet of breakdowns. So structures are breaking down with Saturn squaring Uranus. We saw that last year with these Saturnian structures kind of breaking down and rules changing because of them. And I think it's interesting that over the next month, we'll probably see a lot more again about the Queen and her funeral. And I know that, that's already begun. And of course, Saturn and Uranus move so slowly that we've been starting to feel this energy. But the Queen and England in itself has such a global influence. And I think we're going to start to see with Saturn squaring Uranus, more countries talking about potentially breaking away from Britain, or as now King Charles, right, is going to ascend the throne, probably not in this big display over the next month and a half, but still could be interesting to see if any countries that are still part of the Commonwealth or have British influence kind of ruling over them start to rebel with Saturn squaring Uranus. Really interesting too, on this note, I was talking to my partner about this, when a lot of these countries were being colonized by Britain, we weren't in this global world. We didn't have the technology we had now. And there might have even been, I don't want to say this as positive, but there was some benefit of Britain coming in and bringing these countries into trade routes and bringing new technology and things, right? Like, obviously, colonialism is bad. We know that. I'm not defending that by any means. But now, with technology being a global asset, everywhere is connected. We don't need countries to be colonizing anymore and like bringing new resources in, because pretty much everywhere has the ability to bring their own resources in. Maybe that's me not having seen a lot of the world, but I think for the most part, we're a global economy now. We are a global community now, and we don't really need that same kind of structure. So we're talking about Saturn and Uranus structures, rebellion, revolution, liberation. I really think those concepts could come up too. Oh, Christmas Eve is your husband's birthday too. Look at that. Look at that. I wonder if he likes it. Oh, and your dad's heavenly birthday is on the 23rd. He would have been 58. Lots coming up for you. Oh, that is wild. all these Capricorns in our lives, right? This is the best comment ever. Saturn. Just, yeah, that's the energy of Saturn, right? Interesting, because last year was a roller coaster for me. I moved to a different state, had some issues with my job, had to take care of my dad. My whole life was not normal. So those themes that came up for you personally last year, Rachel, might come up again, but it might be more of a review this time. Like, what did I learn from those experiences? How can I now take what I've learned and keep evolving from those experiences? And yes, there might be some snags that pop up that remind you of those situations, but just take that as the universe being like, hey, remember what you learned last year? There might be a little more learning to do. There might be a little more to squeeze out of that experience or that situation. Yeah, sending you lots of love, Katie. We are here for you. And I know that you are tapped in enough to receive messages from your dad, and we can honor him. So I hope that on the 23rd or the 23rd was his birthday. We'll all honor him with you, and sending you love. And just know that if those feelings do come back up this time around, it's okay to feel them. And for all of us who went through hardship last year or experienced difficult moments during these squares, we got through it. This is the first time both planets are retrograde and meeting each other in this way. So last year, the first time the planets squared, they were both direct. The second time, one was retrograde. The third time, the other was retrograde. This time, they're both retrograde. So we're in definite review mode. Time to evolve, baby. Yes, I know. This is so your jam. So your jam with all your Capricorn and Aquarius placements. You guys are sweet. Right? Sips tea as an Aquarius. You're like, I have been ready for this. Right? It's just like, this is your energy, you guys. Right? You guys are funny. Just like watching it all unfold. Very Aquarian too. I'm just going to kind of zoom out. I'm going to take some space and watch everybody else fight and clash, because I'm already free. I'm already liberated. Everybody else is trying to figure out how to be liberated at the same time. Let's talk about how rare this transit is before we move on to what's going on with the moon. Because, you know, we experience squares, we experience major planets meeting in this way. Excuse me. Also, I don't think he realizes that I just called him out for his birthday behavior last year. But I love you. Thanks for the super chat, babe. So this is a pretty rare transit. The last time Saturn and Uranus squared before 2021 was during the new millennium in 1999 and 2000. So a big shift globally, really, in technology and a lot of the ways of thinking. You know, 1999 to 2000, people thought the world was going to end. And luckily it didn't. We're all here, right? But it's almost like we entered this new reality during the new millennium. And that's kind of a pivotal change that we're seeing right now because of the pandemic, because of everything that's been happening globally here in the US, a lot of the social justice issues that are coming up. I think it's not just going to be about the pandemic. It's going to be about a lot of those lessons we learned throughout 2021 really coming back up for review over the next month or so. Now, what's really wild is the next time that we will experience a square between Saturn and Uranus won't be until 2043. So yeah, it's rare. We got another 20 years to go now. And it's kind of cool to look at it this way because it's like, take this as an opportunity. Yeah, it's not the most fun transit to talk about Saturn squaring Uranus, but this is a powerful moment, and we should really, or we can really seize it for all that it's worth, right? Like really be open to the lessons that Saturn and Uranus are bringing us, to the breakdowns that are happening and creating opportunity for us to have breakthroughs. But again, remember, this is more of a gentle review. It's not quite as harsh as last year. So you don't need to brace yourself for a full-on breakdown, but just be open to the lessons that are coming up for review. There's talk of Native American warriors interrupting the Queen's memorial. Definitely some high emotions. Whoa, that is Saturn square Uranus right there, right? People disrupting, bringing new perspectives to this very traditional setting talk about tradition, the Queen's memorial, the Queen's funeral, right? Like there's so much tradition that goes on with that dates back hundreds of years. That would be really wild and definitely tie into this theme. Everyone was freaking out, Y2K, right? Yeah. So, I mean, everyone was freaking out with the pandemic too. It plays hand in hand, right? These huge shifts that we're experiencing. Oh, Katie, you are so sweet. Thank you so much. I am feeling the love, you guys. Definitely feeling it. Thank you. You guys are the best. So Saturn squaring Uranus doesn't necessarily need to be feared. Lean into the transformation, lean into the lessons, and be open to the review. Ooh, Katie says, I'm writing a book about when Canada tried to gain independence from Britain. Let us know when your book is out so we can all learn, because I'm not super familiar with Canada's relationship with Britain just because I'm not Canadian, but I know here in the US we have a strong history of getting away from Great Britain. Oh, historical fiction. Still pretty cool, pretty and very timely, right? Oh, thank you, Rachel. I will be in Italy for my birthday, so I'll be soaking it up, but I'm so happy I get a little early celebration with you guys. Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll still be relevant. Lots of research goes into that. I think historical fiction can be one of the best ways to learn about history, though, because it allows us to get more imaginative and get into the setting of the time period, right? Rather than being like, this is what happened. And that's really important too. Like nonfiction is super important. Facts are important, but being able, I remember as a kid, I was super into American Girl dolls, you know, like most girls were in the 90s. And I had Kit, the American Girl doll, who was based in like the Depression. And I loved reading the books about Kit and the Depression. And I feel like I actually learned a lot about what life was like during the Depression because of those books. Would I have been open to reading just a nonfiction book about the Depression at like 8 years old? Probably not. So just goes to show. I wish we had. You guys need Canadian girl dolls. That would have been so cute, like in fur coats and in super cold conditions. I know that's not all of Canada, but I think that would have been hilarious. Ah, you guys just showering me with the love today. Thank you so much for all these super chats. I love you all so much. Like you're just making my heart explode. So that's Saturn square Uranus, and I'm feeling like it's going to be okay. You guys are showing me like there's abundance. It's okay if these limiting beliefs and fears and breakdowns happen, because the breakthroughs are on the other side. Oh my gosh, do they really have Canadian girl dolls? That's freaking amazing. Yes, I am flying out tomorrow morning. So today I will be getting all the prep work done, recording a bunch of stuff that will go out next week for you guys. And I will actually be live again tonight doing the weekend forecast, because you know I have to be live with you all for the weekend forecast, especially since this weekend is my birthday. But it's going to be tonight, not tomorrow morning, because I will be on a plane. Right? That information and that perspective was super. And then I was super into the Great Depression. Like my president was FDR for my president report in elementary school, because I felt this connection to that character. I mean, I literally had the doll and like matching outfits to her. I was super extra. It was a whole thing. But historical fiction can be so profound in like creating that connection to history. Loving all the love. Loved the book about Anne Frank when I was younger. And of course, that is nonfiction, right? Her diary. But again, it's this connection to a character rather than just an overview of what happened in the time period. Okay, enough about historical fiction. Let's talk about what's going on with the moon. So the moon is currently still in Taurus right now, making its final connections in Taurus. Let me add that here on the screen for you guys. And let's see, right now, as we speak, the moon is at 28 degrees, coming into that anaretic degree. So you might be feeling a little stubborn, a little more determined in the next couple hours before the moon moves into Gemini. Just know you don't need to dig your heels in too deep. This is a time to continue that release, that relaxation. And overnight, the moon formed a sextile to Neptune. This was at 2 a.m. Pacific time, 5 a.m. Eastern time. So you might have had vivid dreams or really heightened imagination overnight. It's a very creative transit as well when the moon connects with Neptune. So if you were asleep, you might have just had some really powerful, vivid dreams, maybe even some wild dreams. We're talking about fiction, things that don't quite make sense. But if you were awake or woke up under this transit, the moon forming a sextile to Neptune, you might have felt a little bit creative, like getting crafty in the kitchen with the moon in Taurus. We love to cook when the moon is in Taurus, or in the garden even, really connecting to the earth and using creativity to connect to nature. Getting a little messy when the moon connects with Neptune, connecting to our senses under that Taurus moon is definitely favored. But most of us probably slept through this transit at 2 a.m. Pacific time, at least most of us watching live right now. So you might have just noticed some vivid dreams, or even just a nice ability to sleep with the moon forming a sextile to Neptune, like an ability to rest and sleep pretty easily last night. Hopefully you all got a good night of sleep. Yeah, Jennifer says her dreams were vivid. I had some really vivid dreams this morning, actually. Like, I woke up and then I fell back to sleep. And I often find when I go back to sleep and I'm not fully in that like deep sleep, that my mind starts to have all sorts of weird visuals. Weird dream last night about a childhood wound that I've been trying to heal. Wow. Lots of insights came about that though. Yeah. And actually that's a beautiful opportunity to lead into our next transit, which is the moon harmonizing with Pluto. That happened as many of us were waking up at 6 a.m. or probably 9 a.m. your time, Rachel. So the moon harmonizing with Pluto brings this energy of change and transformation. It can tap us deeply into our subconscious, what's been going on beneath the surface, especially since Neptune was the prior connection. We're like really attuned to our internal world and our subconscious beliefs, which makes a lot of sense with what you're talking about, wounding, even fears. But the moon harmonizing with Pluto, especially the moon in this releasing phase, allows transformation to unfold really easily. It's a natural release right now. And with the moon in Taurus, I really have this visual of like releasing to the earth, grounding into the earth, and letting stagnant energy just return to the earth and be composted and decomposed, right? So basically, this is a time to continue that release. It's kind of like this purge when the moon harmonizes with Pluto, but being in earth signs, it's more of a stable energy rather than a rocky energy. This really does feel like the releasing, though, is being kicked up a notch when the moon harmonizes with Pluto. It's really a time of, death and rebirth. That cycle can happen really naturally when the moon harmonizes with Pluto. So you're already on the right track, Rachel, knowing what insights came through, what you're releasing, what you're shedding to make way for renewal and rebirth. That's all about Pluto energy. Yeah, finally able to get some sleep last night. Beautiful. That Neptune energy really worked in your favor. I love that, Rose. You had really vivid dreams too. We love an overnight connection to Neptune. I feel like Neptune gives us what we need when it comes to sleep, whether it's allowing our rational mind, our mental mind to rest and those insights from our subconscious to come through, or sometimes Neptune can just be like, we're just going to let you sleep and get into that deep sleep state. Wow, you guys had weird dreams too. Wild. And sometimes it takes getting into that full restful state to be able to have the dreams, right? Because if you're tossing and turning, you can't fully relax enough for your subconscious to take over. So those are the final connections of the moon in Taurus. The moon's void until 1:16 this afternoon. So really a time to take it easy, tie up any loose ends, maybe review, but don't start anything new until this afternoon. If you have new projects to start, wait until after about 1:15 p.m. Pacific time or about 4:15 p.m. Eastern time, because I know we have some of you who live on the East Coast. Then the moon moves into Gemini this afternoon, and it's really a different vibe when the moon moves from Taurus to Gemini. The Taurus moon's release comes from grounding, from our senses, from relaxation, from letting the body release any tension, right? Whereas Gemini is much more mental energy. So the release comes from processing our emotions through our mental mind, through our words, through our writing. This is much more cerebral version of release. This is a time to talk it out or to write it out. So a lot of you I know have been having insights come through, and taking the time to allow your body to rest can allow for those realizations to pop up when you finally just slow down. Now that the waning moon is moving into Gemini, you might feel like sharing what you've learned, sharing what you're releasing with other people. Really kind of verbal processing, or, mental processing through journaling. This is a powerful time to share what has come up for you with other people you trust, of course. And doing so, talking it out or writing it out, can better help you understand your own emotions. The Gemini moon only makes one connection today, and that's at midnight tonight, and it's a sextile to Jupiter. This is a very social energy with the moon forming a sextile to Jupiter, and it'll make us feel like sharing. Now, Jupiter has a tendency to overdo it, so there might be an urge to overshare, right? But we're going to feel optimistic. We might feel this late night burst of energy on Thursday night, or just this energy of faith, like having faith. Jupiter is that optimism, that faith. So I love a sextile to Jupiter. It shouldn't be too much, too overboard, but just watch who you're sharing with, how much you're sharing. If you feel like you're really in the need to verbal process late tonight, you want to make sure that you're not oversharing, right? It could also, because Jupiter is retrograde, make us question how much we're sharing or which parts of ourselves we're sharing, with the moon in Gemini, really bringing this emotional awareness to the different parts of our personality. So instead of focusing on like, I have all these emotions that I want to get out, pay equal attention to lending an open ear, letting other people share too, making sure it's like a reciprocal conversation or interaction between sharing and receiving. But in general, the moon in Gemini forming a sextile to Jupiter should bring optimism, positivity, good thoughts, and positive emotions too. Probably TMI. Love that this is how it started, but I was feeling really frisky, like above and beyond last night. Ooh, love that for you. Well, Taurus moon, right? Very sensual energy. I love it. I love that for you. And weren't you saying the moon was like opposing your Lilith or something? I remember you saying that yesterday or the day before. That's that Lilith energy, right? Very frisky. And Pluto. Pluto really affects me. Oh, we love Pluto. Talk about oversharing. Already feeling that Jupiter energy. I love it though. This is a safe space. I love that. And also, like, especially as women, I love being able to share about those emotions. How long as women did we go without being able to talk about our sexuality and our desires in that way? Like as a Virgo, I'm very familiar with like feeling like, oh gosh, I can't share that part of myself, but I am fully open to you all sharing about your sex drive. Like that is part of the change and part of the empowerment of women. And I think that's something that might come back up again with Saturn squaring Uranus, because, we've been repressed for a long time. And there's a lot of Lilith transits coming up over the weekend too that we'll talk about when I go live tonight. So yeah, you're probably feeling that frisky Lilith energy. Exactly. Like we deserve, if it was, men have been talking like this for a long time, okay? We're allowed to talk about it too. That's my rant for the day. So that's what's going on today. We're starting to feel that square between Saturn and Uranus, and the moon is moving into Gemini. Let's come back to our affirmation of the day. Share away. Yes, normalize it. We love it. I know what you were saying. I got you. Our affirmation of the day. I am open to changes and breakthroughs. And this really can be our affirmation or our mantra we carry with us through October 23rd, through really the end of October, as we're experiencing this square between Saturn and Uranus. And over the next few weeks, you'll probably hear me come back to these themes a lot, because it's a major transit happening in the background. It's basically like an astrological season we're walking through, reviewing lessons. So being open to changes, staying flexible. Remember, Saturn and Uranus are both in fixed signs, which makes breakthroughs possible, but Usually when it's a fixed energy, there's more tension to work through, to find the breakthrough. So being open, staying flexible, being receptive to the lessons the universe is trying to teach us rather than fighting them or pushing against them head on will make it a lot easier to navigate this energy for sure. Women unite. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And women deserve to feel the same pleasure that men do. All humans deserve to feel pleasure, I should say. And it's time that we take it back. Okay, I'm going to pull from the Light Seers Tarot. This is a message I want to pull through for all of the Saturn square Uranus transit. And just felt like this deck was the right deck, helping us see the light. So let me know how you're feeling, what the current energy feels like for you, maybe what you think you'll be revisiting or reviewing as Saturn squares Uranus over the next month. And I love that this is, I don't love that it's a long transit, but it is nice that it's a long transit because, woo, okay, there it is. That was fast. Because, we have plenty of time to work with it and to observe the lessons. Alrighty. Page of Pentacles is the card that came up. Page of Pentacles. Let's see what the guidebook has to say, what message is coming through for us. Beautiful way to frame challenge and tension. Thank you, Katie. Whoa, that was wild. I just literally opened the book right to the page. Confirmation, this is the card for us. It flew out of the deck immediately. The universe wants us to hear this message. Okay, here we go. Manifesting new opportunities, beginnings, good news, ambitions, skills and training, financial opportunities, new career paths, new connections, exploration stage, a beginner, earth magic, making plans a reality. Ooh, the positivity. Okay, here we go. She holds her mandala with a curious heart and roots into the bedrock to begin understanding the manifesting essence that we all hold. That's the description of the card. Remember when you thought you could be an astronaut? Go ahead and ground that energy before it dissipates. We activate practical magic with our hopes, and we pull energy up from the earth to bring it to form. Progress happens one life stage at a time, and you must anchor into the details while simultaneously keeping your head in the clouds to dream. There may be pieces that still need to fall into alignment, but that doesn't mean that they aren't going to arrive. You're in the perfect place to figure out how to make your prosperity a reality. Seek confidence and dependability, and remember that you hold this power no matter where you stand today. New perspectives and upgrades of consciousness are on the way, so use your plans for the future and expedite its arrival. I can be practical and realistic and still run ahead to meet my dreams. Well, if this isn't Saturn square Uranus, I can be practical and realistic, hello Saturn, and still run ahead to meet my dreams. Uranus is all about that innovation, right? And I love how this is just a really positive way to look ahead to the lessons that Saturn and Uranus might bring. Because, again, it is a review. Like, we've already learned these things before. Now is the time to take what we've learned and innovate. And yes, progress happens one life stage at a time. Think about how much progress you made in 2021 through the challenges, through those life stages that were kind of dictated, if you will, by Saturn and Uranus squaring each other. It really felt like these three specific stages with these three squares between Saturn and Uranus. And now is a time to review those stages, how much you've grown, maybe the dreams that were seeded because of the challenges or transformations that happened, and to be practical, be realistic, but also remember this is the time to dream, and you can do both at the same time. And that's kind of the duality between Saturn and Uranus. Never give up on your dreams. You can achieve anything. And sometimes when we have these tensions, it's the universe forcing us to be like, do you really want that thing? You really want that dream? Here's all the things that might get in your way. It's almost like a test. Saturn likes to test us, which is not fun, but Saturn likes to test us and be like, how bad do you want that thing, right? And this Page of Pentacles card is telling us, like, yes, we can walk through challenges and still hold on to those dreams and still manifest while being realistic. Yes. Don't we know it in our Saturn return? That is like, yes, the Saturn return of the mantra of the Saturn return. How bad do you want it? Prove it. Prove how bad you want it, right? Saturn is like, we're going to make you prove it. So this is a reminder to hold on to your dreams, hold the vision. New perspectives and upgrades of consciousness are on the way. So use your plans for the future, hello Uranus, and expedite its arrival. Lean into that Uranus energy, ground those new perspectives into reality, take the lessons more easily, and the evolution will happen quicker and more naturally. Yes. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this episode of Transits Today. As I mentioned, oh goodness, my iPhone is heating up, needs to cool down. So we're done with an Instagram live. Accomplishments are so much sweeter when you have to go through challenges. Absolutely. Absolutely. It makes you appreciate the positive and the success so much more when you've worked that much harder for it. Wouldn't it be nice if everything just came easy? Yeah, but would we appreciate it as much? Probably not. And I think that's a great point to make about this Saturn-Uranus square too. We already went through the challenges, and now that we're reviewing those lessons, we can really appreciate how much we've grown and what we've already walked through and how resilient we are amidst all of it. So another beautiful reflection. Thank you for that, Rose. So I will be back tonight. I'm thinking 7 p.m. Pacific time for a late night weekend preview of transits today. We're going to walk through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we have a lot of transits coming up. We had a little bit of a relaxation period at the beginning of the week. It was all about the moon and Taurus, nice and restful, nice and relaxed. But I tried to warn you guys, the pace is picking up this weekend. We get another little lull next week, but this weekend we've got a lot to talk about. Venus is squaring Mars tomorrow. The sun is opposing Neptune tomorrow. So there's tension, there's confusion. You're going to want to be in the right mindset to navigate it. Got a lot of Lilith connections on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Mercury opposes Jupiter and the sun harmonizes with Pluto. When I say we have a lot to talk about, I'm not kidding. We have a lot to talk about and a lot of energy that we're going to be experiencing all at the same time. So if you can't join me live tonight, I hope to see you there in the comments, but that video will be there for you all weekend long. So you can come back, you can watch it in pieces too. As always, I'll put markers on the timeline so you can kind of go back and review the transits as they come, attune to them as they come, but definitely want to make sure to have that guidance out for you before I leave, because it's a lot. It's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster of a weekend. That's all good, Rachel. Got to get your beauty sleep. I get it. Thank you. So happy to see you here. And there will be lots of videos coming your way while I'm gone. I got a lot of work to do today, you guys, but I am planning on doing 1 or 2 lives while I'm in Italy. Definitely for the new moon in Libra. We have something really fun we're planning for the new moon in Libra, but probably for the start of Libra season too, because, you know, a big goal of starting this was to be able to work from anywhere and go live from anywhere, and I want to take full advantage of that. So as long as the Wi-Fi is strong, you will likely see me a couple times in Italy too. If you're not already following me on Instagram, that's probably the best way to stay up to date with when I'm going to go live and what's going to be going on. Of course, there's a time difference to navigate too, but that's my Instagram handle right there. So you can follow me over there. It is going to be a juicy weekend for sure, for sure. And even BB talking about, like, I was feeling frisky. Venus and Mars are close to that square already. And Venus, you know, we'll talk about this more tonight, but Venus, that feminine, receptive energy, Mars, that aggressive, sexual energy. Yeah, we're feeling that sexual tension over the next couple of days for sure. It might even be confusing with the sun opposing Neptune, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about that more tonight. Happy to see you here, Jennifer. Thank you, Rachel. I love that you're here. I love that you're part of this community. Yay, can't wait to see you tonight. See you soon. I will be celebrating and sending good vibes to you all from the other side of the world. And yes, Libra season is coming. And you know, what is more Libra season than coming to you live from like Italy, doing like some bougie things in a beautiful place, right? We got to do it. We got to do it. All right, everybody. I'm going to get going so I can finish my prep work, but I will see you all right back here tonight. Hopefully you can make it. If not, go ahead and comment, even if you're watching the replay, because I love to see all of your input and how the energy is affecting you. I love you all. And until I see you next, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.